where music transcends boundaries. One Bay Area artist has consistently stood at the forefront of innovation and expression. On this episode of Music from Humans, I'm excited to converse with the illustrious Rent Romus, an Emmy-awarded maestro of the saxophone and multifaceted instrumentalist. Rent's artistic journey spans over 3 decades. Celebrated for his intense, ferocious saxophone performances, he's a pivotal figure deeply embedded in the fabric of West Coast creative music scene. Rent isn't just an improviser. He's a trailblazer leading groups like the Lords of Outland and the Life's Blood Ensemble and the Otherworld Ensemble. His music is a dynamic blend of genres, from jazz to experimental, echoing his deep roots in Finnish heritage and American jazz. His collaborations read like a roll call of creative music pioneers. As a founder of Edgetone Records and Outsound Presents, Rent has been a pivotal figure in shaping independent music and nurturing a community of like-minded artists. Rent's exploration into his Finnish ancestry has led to the Otherworld cycle, a suite marrying postmodern jazz with traditional Finnish music. The journey into the mythopoetic Finnish folklore has led to 3 other projects since then, all brought to life through his innovative musical lens. Join us as we delve into the world of composer-improviser Rent Romus, exploring his inspirations and his journey. What secrets will we uncover about his music? In this exclusive interview, we discuss the Itkuja suite, Invocations on Lament, which concludes the Otherworlds trilogy and profoundly influences the symphony of modern jazz.
That one got some really good press. It got into some Grammy conversations and things.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk a bit about that project?
Yeah, so like I said, when we were in Finland in 2019 doing the music from Manala, we were in Karelia, we were in Finnish Karelia, and we went to the Karelian Cultural Museum, and in there was an exhibit on lament, Finnish lament, which the word is eet-koo-yaw, or eet-koo. Eet-koo just means to cry, cry. Eet-koo-yaw means like lamentation or sadness. It's connotatively it depends on how it's used. And I started listening to that and going, I'm hearing this it's improvised. Lament is improvised, just like the ruin poems can be improvised, but even more improvised. And it's extremely alliterative. And I love alliteration. I even improvise more alliteratively than most. And so I got really fascinated, and it was all introduced to us by the singer we were with, Dr. Heikki Laitinen, who's this retired professor emeritus from Sibelius Folk Music Academy, famous for his folk music, and he turned to pure improvisation when he retired. Just fascinating man, fascinating person, and he just opened this door, opened this world, and I was like, that's why we're here. This is the next project. It has its long, rich history. Lament is, of course, a worldwide phenomenon. You find it in cultures all over the world. You don't find it being practiced very much in most Western European nations. It's still practiced in various areas of Hungary. It's still practiced, and I mean traditionally. Lament has taken on a modern approach in Finland. There's a neo lament culture. It started. You could hire professional lamenters to come to your family's funeral, or to do weddings. There's an entire lament process from weddings, from sadness
they do
to
that
joy.
in Taiwan too, in China.
Yeah,
I've dealt with that.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's or for going, your children going off to being sent to die in a war. Those were, you could hire people who were professional lamenters who understood the alliteration, who understood the register, because there's an entire lament register I didn't know about until later. Dr. Leitman sent me all these books on the Finnish lament register, which is like amazingly difficult to understand at first. It's just, what? And all the different elements in there. And so that's pretty much it. We're trying to, we decided that was being in Heikki, we were going to do this next thing. We're going to take the Finnish lament register, we're going to take jazz and improvisation, and we're going to put them together, and we're going to tell more stories, but based on these laments and these processes. And then I wrote, actually in the album, there is a personal lament that I wrote called Hear Me When I'm Lost. And I wrote the libretto in English and then translated it was sung, it's on the album, it's sung in Finnish. But there is an English version. It's never been done before. And it's basically about this journey we've been talking about, that I've been on, and it's about me lamenting, like not understanding my own history, not understanding my own culture, and then finding that, and, but lamenting like, oh, it's taken me half my life to, all this stuff. And it's done in an alliterative way, and it's done abstractly. It's not direct. That's the thing about lament. You're not going to say, oh, my poor daughter is, no. The poor little bee is struck down by the lightning. That kind of concept, it's fascinating, just fascinating. So you kind of have to follow that process. So, and then we took a lot of liberties. This one took out a lot because, Manala went off so well. I thought, well, what the heck? Let's see how far we can go with this. And so the piece that I wanted to talk about was actually, it's a combination piece where it uses not only Finnish culture elements like from the lament, but also it's also inspired by the peoples of southeastern Estonia, because the Estonians are Finno-Ugrians, and they're called the Setomaa peoples. So the Setomaa, they hold on to their traditions, and they have a very interesting way of polyphonic singing and group polyphonic singing. I got so inspired by that. And so what it is, that piece, so the piece we're talking about, Intrinsic Lights, part 1 and 2, first part really is a homage to the polyphonic elements of the Setomaa people. Thing about Estonia is that they had to fight even harder to be a country, because they stayed under occupation by Russia even after World War II, even though they declared independence at the same time. Russia says, we're not going to have anything to do with that. You've already lost Finland. We're not going to lose you. So they iron fisted it in. But Estonians, again, same kind of, they had that, what's called sisu, and they just held on to their systems, their understandings, their languages, even through Russification, through until the curtain fell, until the mid 90s. And the Septima obviously held on to their ways purely. And now you can go there. I mean, it's you can go and experience that as a tourist. So I just love that. That kind of thing is beautiful. So when I wrote it for the ensemble, we did that. And then, of course, I decided to just have a big, long, wonderful jazz drum solo before the second part. And the second part uses two elements. One composer who's been super influential in my large ensemble compositions is Horace Tapscott. A lot of people don't know who Horace Tapscott is, and if you don't, look him up. You should. He really, to me, embodies the real depth of the African American struggle in this country, and used music as a way to uplift and to connect to this community and to bring people together. And of course, he nurtured my number one saxophone hero, Arthur Blythe. So that's how I know about Horace, because of my love for what Arthur did in his life and what he contributed and how he inspired me to play what I play. And so second part is not only a homage to the group free improvisation of Horace Tapscott and how he arranged pieces, and just my interpretation, of course, but also I'm using the Finnish Lament register scalar process in the way that the melody has been set up and played, and how it sounds a little off because it's very close voicings, and so but then there's a sadness to it too, and that's kind of what Intrinsic Light is. It's like it's there, but it's not there, and but then there's a joy to it. So to me, it still embodies the whole lament process, because it's not really about just crying and being sad. Lament is a healing process, and to me, this music was a healing process. It's also was a healing process for me on a personal level as well. With the pandemic and all the other things that came with it, and the changes that we all went through. And of course, we wrote this entire thing during the pandemic. So there was something very apropos about it, like, again, that synchronicity, what's up with that, where,
Yeah.
we're writing, I think you're locked in, we're all locked in, and so this music was also a healing journey for me on a personal level, as well as to create this new thing that promotes and supports this truly ancient thing while paying tribute to those who have given their lives to make this music possible by chorus. So,
Can you try and explain a little bit more about the Finnish Lament scalar thing you were talking about? Is there a way to maybe expand on that for folks?
again, so Finnish Lament is an improvised music, first of all, just like Indian classical music. So
Mhm,
there are rules, right? Like it's, minor. Da, 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 but you don't have to, has not to be played a certain way as long as you stay within the context and you're trying to portray, an actual, like, you are trying to portray lament in its various forms, and, so in a lot of this music that I listen to, there's a lot of like very, very close connective notes, um, sometimes. And so then I decide, and also because I always liked close voicings, like, minor seconds and things like that.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense to me to like, so like in Intrinsic, like, too, it's like, da, 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 so it still has that flow. It goes that flow. It's in five. So it has that flow into that minor, and it goes and it changes and it's got two different tonalities to it. And then I took all the horns and I put them really close together, so it's kind of dissonant, and it kind of makes you cringe a little too. Not maybe not everybody, but it even makes me cringe a little bit when I play it.
Yeah.
But that's what I listen to, like lamenters. I listen to most modern current modern lamenters, and also there are recordings of laments being recorded in the 20s and 30s, which because it was on the edge. Professional lamenters still existed back then, so I was able to hear these songs, these recordings from the 30s, and listen to, and how every single time they iterated through the melody would change just a little bit. But it would still stay within the same tonalities. It would still stay within the five context. The alliterative language, the language that was being used was still very alliterative, and so when I wrote the melody of Intrinsic Light 2, that's pretty where I was thinking it more than I was actually trying to copy it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that's just like we were talking before. It's you're absorbing it all through the studies, and then your new version comes out, which is
Right.
right. I
Exactly.
mean, that's ideal. But yeah, it sounds like they have certain style of ornamentation. The close half steps to it. Is it that instrument, the lyre instrument that you mentioned, or I think it's
The
5
Kantele.
and 11 strings? Yeah. Is that pitched in any way that also influences? I know you use that a lot in the South on that.
Yeah, we used Kantele in some of, like, Heikki did a traditional, more runic piece that we used Kantele to, and also we used Kantele in the introduction to. Now I'm forgetting the names of my own suite. Anyway, but he actually had a sample of Don Lahuoven, a very famous Finnish lamenter, and we started the piece out, and then we played Kantele through that. And again, yeah, because Kantele was not only used in rune singing, but is used in Finnish lament and was always used. And it's one of the main instruments next to what's called the Jouhikko, which is a tree string kind of box cello style instrument that you bow or pluck. Yeah, so those instruments were really important to making it happen. So both Heikki and I both have 5-string kanteles, and we've been experimenting with playing them extendedly with various tools, chopsticks mostly. Actually, that's been the most fun. Works really well. The smaller sticks and some metal objects and things like that.
episode. Very cool. That's a really great album. I enjoyed that one a lot. I know one of the tracks you sort of mentioned, McCoy Tyner, influence. It might be your second track, but to me, it also, and this is probably just showing my taste. Granted, I love McCoy, but like '70s Pharaoh Sanders as well.
Hmm.
And
Cool.
which
I'll
yeah,
take that.
'70s Pharaoh is like some of my absolute favorite. Like I listen
Sweet.
to those albums religiously, and
Wow.
so it just they had a little bit of that feel because they were deeply spiritual,
Oh, yes. Yes. Well,
and they all had these great bass grooves, and yet they were very free and interesting percussion, and it was just a wonderful blend of in and out and
yes.
spiritualness, very
Yes.
spiritual
Well,
stuff.
through this entire process, I always say I find little pieces of myself, and I definitely have found a deep spiritual appreciation for the nature worship of my ancestors now more than ever now. Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. So I'm curious on some of the interesting technical things for the album. In the sense, I know you got some grants, some funding for this, and how did you get on that tour to Finland? All there's you do so much with your record label and all these other things. I'd almost feel exhausted just from the work on creating the music, but then how were you able to get it actually completed and out there and on tour like you did?
Yeah. Well, I feel incredibly blessed. I feel like there's luck involved in this process. I am still eternally surprised and filled with gratitude at these things have happened at all. Because the music is the most important thing to me and I know that with all of us musicians and composers and, creators, the last thing we want to do is administration, but I appear to have the ability to organize things technically, where most musicians wouldn't want to do. I can't explain why I do that, I'm able to, but I kind of live in a triage zone most of the time, and I live by deadlines. And I I uh I think ahead. I'm always 6 to 9 months ahead. And I know that those things may or may not even come to fruition. I believe that you can I believe that you can manifest things if you do, keep a positive but, realistic mindset. I mean, when we were gonna we try to me and Heikki, we try to go to Finland every 2 years. That's our goal. 2019, we're like, "Okay, we're gonna go back in 2021."
Yeah. The world had
Yeah, we
different
were hoping
plans.
it didn't happen, but we used that time to compose, and then we were like and then 2020, 22, things are looking good. We're like, "Okay, let's start this process." Heikki is a Finnish jazz legend. He has been awarded an intrinsic value by his country, and he's one of the founders of the Finnish free jazz scene. He's one of a few left alive today that were part of that scene, in the, mid '60s. That's when it started. In Finland, jazz really took off, and a lot of players from the US went and played in Helsinki, in between '65 and '75, and inspired a lot of young people at that time, including Heikki. So Heikki Koskinen is somebody to be reckoned with, and his albums are now getting reissued everywhere. It's amazing. It's wonderful to know him. It was pure luck that I found him. I mean, absolute pure luck. Somebody overheard me talking about me wanting to write music to the Kaleva and said, "Hey, I met this guy who was speaking Finnish, and I got this CDR," and he handed it to me, and it was just like him and Teppo Hata-aho, the world famous bass player. Those guys with
Mm.
their shirts off in front of the sound, and I thought, "Oh, it's a folk music CD," and I put it away for like 3 months. I didn't think anything of it. I was researching, and I put it on. I was like, the most craziest improvisation I've ever heard, and I immediately got on to email. I didn't even know Heikki lived in the Bay Area. I just said, "Hey, if you're ever in the area, please let me know because I'd love to talk to you." And he just, sight unseen, flung his doors open to me and invited me to his house, and then just pulled out all these records from the '70s. All this Finnish Edward Vesala, who he played with, just Teppo Hata-aho, and all these guys. And I was like floored, and it just opened the entire world up. So that's what I mean by luck, blessed, gratitude, because I've really kind of gone in from the side door. Because I don't have an agent. I don't, most of the American musicians have these Italian agents. I don't know, go figure. And because he knew the language, I just do what I do is DIY. We wrote the letters, we and translated them into Finnish to see if we could like get some shows. And because of his stature, I'm very sure that's why I was able to get into the Finnish scene. With grants, I've been, because I run Outsound Presents, and because I have this need to support my community and the musicians in it, and see them. I want to see all of you succeed. I mean, to me, that's the greatest joy ever.
Yeah, you do a
Always has
wonderful
been.
job at helping. Just
Well, I
incredible.
hope so. I think so. I'm gracious when I see these connections are happening. And so because of all that administrative work of having a nonprofit, writing grants, I'm able to like translate that over into writing grants for myself. And so like getting the grant money to do a monologue, getting the grant money to do all these projects, and also the generosity of the musicians in our community, because they would, from my understanding, I mean, they would do this with me anyway. They're interested in doing this music, so I'm grateful that they're interested in doing this music with me, even if there's no money in it. And then I'm super happy when we actually get some payments to them, and I can actually say, "Here." I mean, I wish it could be 10 times more, but here, you know. And so, and then luckily, there's this wonderful organization for people like myself, is the Finlandia Foundation National, and they have provided me with opportunity, the money to fly to Finland, the money to complete, we completed Manala through them, and also, of course, Intermusic SF, great organization, still going strong, believed in what I was doing, and I think if you create music that is just what you truly are passionate about. You're not trying to be marketing. You're not trying to be marketable. You're not trying to like write some or write the next Love Supreme, or you're trying to, just because you feel passionate about what you're doing, and you tell people this is what I love to do, and you really feel it. It seems to me that's because I never get a grant when I just write something because I thought, oh, this will be cool, and never. But when I started doing this music, I feel deeply passionate. Like I will do this music even if I have to like, go into debt. I will do this music. Nothing will stop me from making this music happen. And that's how when I wrote the grants, that's how I wrote them. Like, I'm doing this. You can support me or not. This is why I'm doing it. Let me know what you think, and for the most part, and I got no's too, but for a good part, I got a number of yeses to help make this happen. So I'm beside myself pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome. For someone who most of the time not get the grants, but I still
No,
do it
most of us
anyway,
don't.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
don't worry.
exactly.
I get a lot of no's, just like everyone else. So
Yeah.
like we're all in the same boat together, really, when it
Yep.
comes
Oh,
down
I
to
know,
it.
I know, I know. I
I
mean,
know.
it wasn't meant to be trying. It was just, you know. But I'm like you, just gonna do it anyway. I just will have to do it a little cheaper or less, or maybe not in the full vision, but it's happening.
And I just say this in general to anyone who's listening to this. Like, if you're feeling disconnected and alone and out there because of what you're doing, and you think nobody cares, it's like, no, that's not true. We're all in the same boat. Actually, we feel the same thing, and I feel
Yeah,
you on that. And so that's why I was saying that
yeah, yeah.
we're all together. Yeah.
It's sometimes, especially at the composery part of your existence, you feel kind of isolated, and it's kind of why I try and get more meetings together with composers and do music from humans here, so that you could hear composer stories. You realize, hey, we're all doing this thing the same way. We're all sort of in this, and somebody might have an idea you might want to try. Yeah, it's always great to share inspiration, things
Yes,
like
and I'm happy to connect. People want to reach out, talk to me about this stuff. That's why I was so happy when you reached out. I was like, yeah, I really appreciate it. To be able to talk about this, and if anyone, I'm not inaccessible. Some people think I am, but I'm not. I'm not inaccessible. I want to talk to people who are creating as well, and be there and support that, and and learn from other people too.
the new projects coming up at different times. We other chats.
Let's put it this way, I'm working on birds now.
Oh, there we go. Just like I said,
Yeah.
the important Finnish thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I've turned to the birds. So
there we go.
I have to start writing soon. I've already written one piece. There's one more I'm working on, and then there's a third one. There's an arrangement of a Livonian folk song about bird awakening. So I'm working on that too. And then Heiki's doing his own thing. So we're gonna meet in the middle at some point pretty soon. And this new project's gonna start. We've already started workshopping the concepts in our gigs.
Cool.
Just real abstractly though. We haven't announced anything. We're just doing him. Like Day of Noise, we're gonna do some of this test bird music. We're gonna be experimenting with some of the concepts, but in a pure improvisational perspective. So yeah, if you tune in, you'll kind of get a feel for some of the things that you're get to be part of this project. It's just that's how we do it. We kind of sneak things in over a period of like many months, and then we're like, hey, and here it is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think that. I mean, that's how people do it that way for years, right? They keep trying it out, iron it out, but
Uh,
really,
I got inspired by Lisa Mezcapa because Lisa does that a lot too with her stuff. She constantly workshops her, and that inspired me to take that approach. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for sure. Cool. You're a huge community person here. 20 years ago, I think, when I first met you, and you booked a few shows of mine, and just to get to know you. And I think part of it was, I think I went to a handful of your shows. I listened to your band because your band excited me, and very accessible. Let's all just hang around and figure out music stuff together. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
really,
Yeah,
it's really the only way. Sometimes people pit musicians against each other, or oh, he's trying to be the first chair or whatever. It just doesn't. We don't survive as a community that way. It's bonding together. It's again kind of why helped start the San Francisco Composer Chamber Orchestras, to pull all the composers' resources together so we can actually just do it without others' required help.
exactly.
And all hang out together and chat and learn and say, "Oh, you did that? That's kinda cool. I wanted that. Let's do it." It's a great kinda community thing, and I think all the community work you do, I don't know if you get enough credit for all that, but you really should, 'cause you're definitely one of the stalwarts of the Bay Area and helping to, keep the new music and improv community going on while you're cranking out your own great work for all of us to enjoy. So, an amazing amount of work. I really appreciate you, coming in and chatting with me, and
Absolutely.